All right, my name is Big Time. Going to talk about the Black excellence coming out of Chicago. Man, let me tell you something. Thank God they are sending hundreds and hundreds of illegal immigrants to Chicago. We have such a humanitarian crisis that those immigrants can now learn the benefits of diversity from the Blacks in Chicago. And speaking as a representation of the Black excellence coming out of Chicago, let's cover the 4 Black teens that were arrested for the murder of the police officer, rest in peace, Areanah Preston. They now have a timeline, and it turns out one of the teens was bragging that he murdered a female cop. Possibly the first time he's ever seen her in his life, and the last time as they stood over her and killed her.
I stand.
I wish she would have smoked one of them. They say that she was able to fire her gun. I wish she would have got one. That's a shame. Rest in peace. Black excellence in Chicago. Wait till they start killing the immigrants.
Before you guys today, as a mother.
Family of Chicago Police Department officer Areanah Preston and officers with the department packing the courtroom during a bond hearing Wednesday morning. The 4 suspects accused in a violent crime spree, including Preston's murder, appearing in front of a judge.
And I had a beautiful daughter that I know deserves justice.
19-year-old Travell Breland, 19-year-old.
Wow, is anybody surprised? If anybody is paying attention to anything, is anybody fucking surprised? They might as well just name these kids fucking Glocktavius. If anybody watches Chaotic Truth, all the fucking people like Barnabas coming up there and saying, we have no idea what happened. There's no way this could be. It's always random. These ninjas, one of the ninjas' girlfriends called their boyfriend, I don't know which one, and said, we're having a barbecue. So they decided to drive around, steal a car, and they committed 3 armed robberies at gunpoint. And on the 4th one, they ran into this innocent police officer and killed her for money. At the drop of a fucking hat, a Black person can call somebody who will show up and throw away their life to murder you. That's the reality of Blackistan.
Year-old Joseph Brooks, 18-year-old Jaquan Buchanan, and 16-year-old Jalen Frazier, all charged with several crimes, including murder. The judge overseeing the case saying, quote, these 4 men unfortunately have extremely extensive criminal backgrounds.
But as I said in that courtroom today,
oh no, we got the shades on. All depends on what she says.
the people I really felt sorry for was those boys.
Despite the pain faced by Officer Preston's family and the questions of why this happened, her mom, Dion Moon, says she's praying for their families.
Anytime you can shoot somebody and say, that was my work, what kind of human would say that about another human being?
Black kids say it all the time. What do you mean? Have you listened to a rap song? Do you know what drill rap is? Your kids brag about killing each other. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm sorry your daughter is dead. And it's another example of the best of Blacks being killed by the worst of Blacks. Even Black people are not safe around other Black people. But how can, and again, the lack of self-awareness is fucking unbelievable. I don't know what to say. Like, it's like you're never aware of where you live.
Court documents allege it was Frazier who said that in a conversation with a friend asking if they had heard of the officer who was killed.
And they're probably blurting out this kid's face because I think he's the youngest. He's the 16-year-old. These other ones are 18, 19. That's probably why they're showing their face.
Each of the suspects accused for their roles in the crime spree have lengthy criminal records, according to the state's attorney's office.
This system is broken. You look at the extensive records of every one of these offenders, and every time they've been going to...
Are you going to blame Kim Fox personally? Then nothing you say is worth anything.
second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance.
Prosecutors say Brooks alone has 7 felony juvenile adjudications, including violent offenses like armed robberies and aggravated vehicular hijacking. The judge saying he
Aggravated vehicular hijacking. What does that mean? He held someone at gunpoint, got in the car, and forced them to drive? That's what that sounds like. Because carjacking would just be, or carjacking could just be he robbed a person by force, like with his hands, or armed, meaning he probably had a gun. So hijacking, yeah, that has to mean he held somebody hostage and made them drive. That's what I think.
has, quote, simply no regard for the law during Wednesday's hearing. Frazier has multiple juvenile adjudications at just 16,
At least he has a mask on.
including a weapons charge. Chicago Police Union President John Catanzara also speaking after the hearing.
What do you think these police are thinking? Would anybody at this point just not think the cops have the right to just go fucking full Cobra or Death Wish or Bernie Getz, Charles Bronson? Like, I don't even know what these men are thinking. I have no, when somebody and from what the judge is saying and from what the video is saying, these guys have lengthy criminal records, meaning Kim Foxx letting them out. So here is an example of if they were in prison, this woman who had her master's degree from Loyola, who was a police officer, who, again, like, and from what it sounds like, an upstanding Black citizen. You know, she pays her taxes. She went to school. She wanted to serve and protect her community. The best of us. And now she's dead because some fucking ninjas needed to just being ninjas. I wish she would have smoked one of them, one or two. Or even worse, crippled one of them. I wish she would have shot one of them in the T, the deadly T. If you don't know what that is, I don't want to. Anyway.
Until there is hard accountability from the beginning, we're going to have more victim situations like, sadly, this.
Family of the slain officer says they will be here every step of the way until justice is served.
We're going to get through this. Areanah will get justice. You guys are going to be seeing a lot of me.
Family of Officer Preston says this tragedy has left a hole in their heart that they'll never be able to fill. They also shared she was so excited to graduate from Loyola, where she was expected to walk with her master's this weekend.
Offer some fucking money at a barbecue, man. Oh, wait. It's not the right one. Give me 1 sec. Let me see if we got the right video. I wanted to show this. This is the one. So they show their path of destruction. So even before they had murdered this woman, they'd already stolen a car and committed, I think, 3 armed robberies.
Less than 48 hours to track down and arrest the 4 suspects.
Arjo Donlan here now with a closer look at what happened during that specific amount of time.
Yeah, we learned
the 4 blacks, the 4 ninjas, the 4 domestic terrorists. They killed a police officer for no fucking reason. You terrorists.
An awful lot of new information today. Detectives say 4 suspects set off on a crime spree just before midnight on May 6th when one of the suspects' girlfriends called him saying she needed money for a barbecue. Minutes later, all 4...
That's why she's dead. That's it. That's it. That's why she's dead. One of these little ninjas, baby mamas, this little hood booger got a call from his hoe, his 304, and said, I need some money. Welfare ran up, dried up. It's not the first of the month yet. And he said, yeah. And here you go.
Got into her white Dodge Avenger SUV wearing all black with face coverings. Their movements after that were all tracked by police pod cameras and cell phones.
Can't do homework in school, can't sit down in class, can't do group activity. but they can all get in a car, work together to kill you. They can get the guns and steal a car and get the masks. So the intelligence is, and I say this all the time, the intelligence is there. They want to be terrorists. That's just what they want to be. And every time this happens, I don't want to fucking hear people complaining about racism. No white man made them kill this woman. Okay? This is why nobody wants to live around you. This is why nobody wants to be near you. This is why black people get away from you. This is why the divested community now exists. You understand? What is it? 4.6 hours now? Every 4.6 hours, a black woman is murdered, murked, toe tagged. What's the proper word I can say on YouTube? Ridiculous.
Phone pings.
11:57. A woman is robbed at gunpoint near 46th and Ellis by 4 men who got out of a white Dodge Avenger.
Boy, you ninjas love picking on women. Just like George Floyd, just like Walter Wallace, just like Jacob Blake. You love beating up women. Fascinating.
Her wristlet, belt, phone, credit cards all stolen. 12:39 a.m. A red Kia Forte parked at 47th and Indiana is stolen. 1:07 a.m. The red Kia pulls up to a home at 100th and Wallace. 3 men get out, push 2 people to the ground and steal a Coach bag and cell phone. 1:30 a.m. A person parking a Tesla at 91st and Merrill is robbed, the thieves taking his cell phone and Tesla key.
And then they encounter Areanah. So this is exactly like those 3 ninjas in DC. In a span of 2 hours, they committed 3 armed robberies. They stole a car, probably like the Kia boys, so they watched TikTok and watched how to steal it with a phone jack. And then they murdered this innocent cop, all within a span of 2 hours. And the fucking liberals and Democrats and dumbass fucking progressives are telling me that this war zone is a sanctuary city. The next victims are going to be the Latinos. Or you're going to have people from, I don't know, Central America who are in the cartel. Or maybe MS-13. I don't know. I don't know who's coming across the border. You're going to have a gang war. It is literally going to be fucking Judge Dredd. It is literally going to become that. This is going to become a fucking war zone. The idea that you think sending immigrants, and I'm sure there are people escaping their country. I'm sure they are. But the idea that you're sending them here to this city, to this hellhole, to Blackistan, they're going to get killed. And everybody thinks this is a good idea. You won't even punish blacks for murder, for murdering children. Kim Fox gave criminal trespass to 2 ninjas who crashed and killed a 6-month-old Latino baby. And you think sending more people into a war zone is a good idea. I can understand why people would just throw in the towel and give up. I can understand why people just leave the United States. I don't know where they're going. I don't know where they're going to go. But I can understand if people just say fuck it and they're out. I could understand people moving to Alaska, but even Alaska is bullshit. The Democrats run Alaska. How the fuck is an 84-year-old man going to tell you in DC that up in Alaska you're not allowed to carry a gun? How fucking asinine.
Taking his cell phone and Tesla key. 1:42 a.m.
Shots fired picking up 9 rounds at 8157 South Blackstone Avenue.
Sensors picked up the sound of gunfire, but officers didn't.
This is how bad Chicago is. It is so dangerous. It's such a fucking war zone. They have these shot spotters everywhere. And listen to this.
Immediately respond because of a backlog in the district.
A backlog. Oh, and they brought
1:51 a.m. Calls begin coming in about a red Kia set on fire in an alley near 72nd and Eberhard. 2:02 a.m. 911 gets a notification of a crash in the same spot as the ShotSpotter notification 20 minutes prior. We now know that was Officer Preston's Apple Watch alerting 911 she was in distress. At approximately 2:15 a.m.
We got a person shot. It's an off-duty PO. Get an ambulance here now.
That officer not waiting for the ambulance, instead driving Officer Preston directly to the University of Chicago.
There. The police are so racist that they scoop and gold a black woman. And if you want to say, you know, the blue gang, yeah, that's fine. But, you know, they took her, someone took her, a cop, put her in the back of the car like in Philly, the scoop and run, the scoop and go, and drove her to the hospital. It wasn't enough, though. They shot her in the face and in the neck.
Where she died. She had been shot once in the face and once in the neck. Bullet casings recovered from the scene show 2 guns were fired, one of which was Officer Preston's. That night, prosecutors say one.
Damn, I wish she had been a better shot. But she had, you know, she had balls. You know, at least she was able to fire. Good for her.
One of the defendants proudly bragged to a friend about taking part in the robberies and shooting of Officer Preston.
There you go. Your kids bragged about killing somebody they've probably never met. They bragged about it. Okay? This is why nobody wants to be around you. This is why sundown towns and Jim Crow existed. Do you understand?
That friend.
This type of behavior didn't just emerge because of the fucking pandemic. I'm so tired of news stations saying that. Yeah, before 2020, black people never killed anybody. That's all bullshit. In the 80s, there were 2,400 homicides a year in New York. In the 70s, there were over 900 homicides a year in Chicago. In the 70s. The highest murder rate in Chicago was in 1972 or 1974, 940 homicides. So I don't want to hear that pandemic shit.
Immediately alerting police.
Philadelphia had 700 bodies last year, but only 560 something of them were classified as homicides. The other 100 or so, they don't know what to classify them as. And I don't even believe that. I believe they're lying.
Fast forward to Sunday night. Police are monitoring a home at 76th and Bishop when Jaquan Buchanan is seen getting into an Uber. Officers pull over the car and arrest Buchanan and his ex-girlfriend. As they're arresting him, Buchanan begins screaming, alerting others in a home nearby. After a lengthy standoff with SWAT, the others were taken into custody.
Now you see that shit? Why weren't the cops weren't even allowed to pop this motherfucker in the mouth? So because he yelled and warned his friends, that put more people in danger. This is how fucked up the police is, okay? Oh, the poor criminal.
A gun recovered from the backseat of that Uber has since been traced to Officer Preston's murder.
They didn't even get rid of the murder weapon. This is how fucking stupid they are. All right. And of course, more Alphabet Mafia news. One second. We're having internet issues here. All right. ACLU, the latest terrorist organization, represented transgender terrorist, diaper fetishist to secure gender self-identification in New Jersey woman's prison. The ACLU of New Jersey. Sonia Doe is a man who's been improperly confined in men's prisons for 17 months because she's transgender. We filed suit 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, Department of Corrections said she'll be in New Jersey's women's prisons next month. An important step. Yeah, that's right. Let's get more women in prison to be raped from women penis. In 2019, an ACLU lawsuit against the New Jersey Department of Corrections resulted in a settlement which required the state to allow violent male inmates to self-identify into the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women. The lawsuit was launched on behalf of a transgender male inmate who sought transfer but had been denied. That inmate was anonymized in court records, referred to as only Sonia Doe. Redux has learned the identity of the anonymous inmate the ACLU represented in their fight for prison gender self-identification and can name him as unhinged convicted terrorist Danielle Demers. Your name is Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith was investigated by the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force and the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office for attempting to sell ammunition and pipe bombs. In October of 2017, Demers, a veteran of the Marine Corps, was charged with attempting to sell a high-powered rifle, 300 rounds of ammunition, and material capable of making 5 pipe bombs. So a straw purchase or an illegal sale. I don't exactly know how private sales work in New Jersey. During the course of the investigation, it was learned that Demers provided instructions on how to assemble the pipe bomb and noted that they should be filled with nails to act as shrapnel. He was arrested by members of the Atlantic City Police Department SWAT team, and the Atlantic City Police Department bomb squad recovered the pipe bomb materials. Authorities did not specify the intended customers for the weapon, and local media reports referred to Demers simply as a woman. Well, they didn't identify the intended customers. Probably because they're other alphabet mafia, or they're probably black or illegal immigrants at this point. Can't make the BIPOCs look bad. As reported by AC Primetime, Demers has been known locally for charity work prior to his arrest. The exact nature of his activism remains unclear. Demers was charged with unlawful possession of a destructive device, possession of an explosive substance for an unlawful purpose, unlawful sale of a firearm, unlawfully teaching another to use an explosive, and conspiracy. April of 2018, Demers and his female accomplice, Nina House, were each sentenced to 5 years. That's it. Demers' sex was recorded as female by the Atlantic County Justice Facility, though he was initially housed with men at the New Jersey State Prison in Trenton. August of 2019, the American Civil Liberties Union of New Jersey filed a lawsuit against the State Department of Corrections on behalf of Demers, arguing that he had a mental illness, saying that he was a woman, so he could get an easier sentence and be around women. The legal action, which is retarded, claimed that he was discriminated against on the basis of his gender identity or expression on the basis of his sex, and that he had been treated differently than other women solely because he has a mental illness. It was further stated that Demers suffered from an exceptional vulnerability as a woman, which included prison staff referring to him as male, using male pronouns, and sometimes even explicitly So we're hurting the terrorists' feelings. That's what I'm getting here. The lawsuit sought financial compensation for the more than 17 months that the DOC caused him to suffer. Oh my gosh. Also mentioned in the complaint was Demers' lack of access to undergarments. In one specific example, a bra owned by Demers was confiscated, and he had filed 13 grievances to the new NJDOC related to his desire for women's underwear. Within the same month the lawsuit was filed, the New Jersey Department of Corrections transferred Demers to Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women, the state's only female prison. Sonia Doe has spent more than 500 days in a man's prison, facing extreme harassment, discrimination, and outright violence on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, that's right, because words are violence now. And they give a hand job. In June of 2022, the state of New Jersey reached a settlement with the ACLU-NJ and agreed to adopt major reforms to prison policies, which would allow housing according to a self-declared and subjective gender identity rather than on biological sex. As part of the settlement, so they had to pay this motherfucker. In a press release, Borden remarked, the settlement of this lawsuit puts in place systemic, far-reaching policy changes to recognize and respect the gender identity of this terrorist, with housing based on gender identity, access to gender. Oh my gosh. This policy places New Jersey in the vanguard of states committed to protecting transgender, intersex, and non-binary people in prison housing determinations, and continues its path toward eliminating discrimination. We are so fucked. According to testimonies provided to Redux from women incarcerated at Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women, among the first men to be transferred to the prison after Denmers and the ACLU New Jersey were victorious in their lawsuit was a convicted woman killer who had referred to himself as Lucifer's maiden servant. Perry Surf, a Satanist who tortured and murdered a prostituted woman before drinking her blood. Oh, great. Perry Surf was handed a 50-year sentence in 2003 for the brutal grape and toe tag of a sex-trafficked woman from Ecuador. Wow. So a trans person has priority on the progressive stack over an illegal immigrant who was sex-trafficked. I'm not calling you your name. And is recorded as female, but the Department of Corrections has been found wearing his victim's clothes and utilizing his identification with his photo superimposed over the victims. At the time of the crime, he sent a letter to the press confessing to and boasting about the horrific slaying, stating, "Since I have a most unusual taste for blood, I drank and licked and lapped up my fill. Let it be known I am Lucifer's maiden, servant sent to earth, born of sin to bring suffering and pain, darkness and evil." I wonder why that never made the news. You know how fast we got the supposed Mexican white supreme pizza shooter in Dallas? Wow, that was fast. I wonder why this never made wow, so another transgender alphabet mafia person who basically says they work for Satan. I'm beginning to believe it. I believe it. Surf accepted a longer sentence to avoid a grape charge, and during his trial said, "Going to prison on a sex change would be a safety concern for me." He has since married a female inmate at EMCF and has been reportedly terrorizing women in the facility. Since his release, Denmers has been active on the online forum Cura, a community that operates on a question and answer format. Denmers is so they get to go on social media. Wow. Denmers is behind at least 2 profiles on the site and 1 Cura profile. Denmers describes himself as a former tactical analyst and warfare development specialist. He also purports to be a grape counselor who sits on the board of directors for several nonprofits. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. The 2019 legal complaint launched on his behalf similarly describes Denmers as a grief and suicide counselor and board member of several nonprofit organizations. Altogether, Denmers has replied to thousands of questions on the platform, many of which relate to the topic of transgenderism and prison policies. To a question posted last year on whether there should be separate prison accommodations, the lunatic responded, "In New Jersey, transgender females still having a penis are housed with cis females. They are housed together, roam freely, eat together, and shower together. This has been policy for over 2 years, with dozens of men inmates living and commingling at the only female prison, Edna Mahan." To another Quora user who asked, what would happen if an inmate in prison got caught staring at another inmate in the showers? Denmers commented, "The females all have girlfriends and open relationships, no shame in it." In a recent post from April 23, Denmers instructed readers to Google Sonia Doe in order to learn how the state of New Jersey places trans-identified prisoners. Was it Daniel? Is your name Daniel? Hang on. What's your real name? Daniel Smith. Yeah, that's your fucking name. Your name is Daniel. "I am transgender. I was declared male at birth. I've always been a girl. It's not a fetish or a phase. I'm very feminine. And guys hit on me everywhere I go. My heart, soul, metaphysical mind, and now my body are female. I love being a girl. Before I was miserable every second of every day, trying to be something I wasn't. It was torture." One Quora user asked about the issues of female inmates being impregnated by trans-identifying males. "Are transgender activists bothered by women getting pregnant by male inmates in women's prisons?" Demi answers, "If a transgender person is on the right combination of hormones and testosterone blocking meds, they cannot impregnate a female. In fact, they will not ejaculate a single drop of semen." In addition to offering his expertise on topics related to transgenderism, Denmers has also been responding to Quora inquiries of a sexual nature, including on topics such as furries, diapers, menstruations, and lesbianism. "I am ADBL and have no real ADBL friends, just a few people I speak to online." In his profile, he lists adult babies, diaper lovers, fetish, as an area of personal expertise. ADBL refers to a sexual subculture in which adults, primarily men, achieve arousal by behaving and dressing like babies. On his older Quora profile, only 3 accounts followed by Denmer's are visible. All of them are related to the sexual fetish of adults pretending to be children or infants. One is specifically titled Diapered Females. Among his followers is what appears to be an adult man who calls himself Newborn Baby Rebecca and posts photos of himself wearing diapers. I love kissing girls. I'm a girl and not a lesbian. Girls are amazing kissers, soft and gentle. If female best friends finger each other, does that make them lesbians? No, it does not. It makes them friends with... Oh, okay. The denial is unbelievable. Using his more recently active profile, Demers described a scenario where he has engaged in sexual activities with a minor 17-year-old girl as a misunderstanding that occurred after drinking at a bar. Responding to a user who posed the question of how to prevent male perverts who try to go into women's washrooms and showers, Demers replied, "There is a huge difference between the male perverts who enjoy going into and somehow get off going into female bathrooms and locker rooms and trans women's who go there just like any other female. I'm a female, I'm a trans female, and I go into female bathrooms. Even in states where it's illegal for me to use, I'm still going to utilize. Do you know why? Because, no, you're not. This is someone who knows they're playing the system." Daniel also claims to have a period and use period products. Okay. A tampon up your ass. No. Most frighteningly, Demers claims to have adopted a homeless teenage girl from an abusive background and has responded to posts on the topic of kidnapping while himself warning others to understand laws related to the offense. Oh, great. A groomer. "I took in and raised a teenage girl. She was drug addicted, being abused by men, and at home spent most of her time on the streets. She is 22, sober, and in college. We are very close. Something deep inside just told me to help her and show her the way. If you have the same urge to intervene, I would seriously consider doing so. Bear in mind the law. Going against either parent is a losing battle and quick way to possible kidnapping. In my particular situation, her mother couldn't have been happier to be rid of her." Daniel claimed to be best friends with the high-ranking police administrator while describing an unsettling story involving kidnapping in a closet painted black with chains hanging everywhere. In the story, Demers prevents an officer from conducting a welfare check on an adult child on the basis that the sexual bondage scenario was a form of role play and therefore consensual. March 14th, he answered the question, "What crime did you not get caught for yet? No prison time to the police for. If I didn't get caught, then why would I owe time to the police?" Thanks to the effort of Daniel and the ACLU, 27 men are now housed at EMCF, many of which have been convicted of violent crimes involving women and children. Among some of the psychopaths, Matthew Voles, Adam Romero, 2 sadistic men who sexually abused a 7-year-old girl to produce porn. Another male transfer, Raquel Rollins, is said to have incited the worst instance of prison guard brutality against female inmates in recent years, following which he was transferred out of this woman's facility for his safety to the New Jersey State Prison in Trenton, while the women who were being beaten remained. Despite having repeatedly assaulted officers, threatening to sexually assault a female staff member, and allegedly hurling bodily excretions at guards, Rollins filed a lawsuit following a violent show of force from prison officers, which resulted in 6 women being extremely battered. Major media outlets reported sympathetically that he had been a victim of transphobia, and he was ultimately moved to Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution at Muncie. So we're doing it too. Great. Still another male transfer was discovered to have impregnated 2 women housed at EMCF after being transferred in while serving a 30-year sentence for the murder of his foster father. Demi Minor, we've covered this motherfucker, has been trying to have sex with the female inmates from the moment he was transferred in. Additionally, multiple women have told Redux of the sexual harassment and abuse they have endured from the male transfers. Kokila Hiat, who has spoken to Redux on several occasions over the past year, reports being the target of harassment by Perry Surf after speaking out Surf made false allegations against Hia, which resulted in her being punished and placed in a lockdown unit for 3 days. Oh, so you punished the women. Good. Last year, Amy Locane, an actress known for her role in Melrose Place, described how a 6'7" convicted murderer named Leo LeBranch, who now goes by the name Nikita Selkett, has been showering with women at the facility, causing them to feel uncomfortable and violated. Great. We'll have more tomorrow because I just can't read anymore. I'm big time.